Tottenham away. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Tottenham Away, the best place to be in town if you're a Spurs fan. Great to have you with us. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. We've got some brilliant guests today. It's going to be a brilliant show. We've got the Geordies, the life and soul of English football. The Geordies are in the house. Please put your comments up during the show. We'll go through as many as we can. If you've got any questions for anyone on the panel, get your super chats in. We'll go through them. Smash the like. Let's say a quick hello to these wonderful guests. Let's start off with the one that you know already, Steve Strasberg, a bit of a regular on the channel. Steve, how you doing? How's things in America?
I'm doing good, bro. Just enjoying some football on right now. Watching Porto play and Besiktas as well. So yeah, just enjoying the football like usual, man. You know me, still. I'm a football crackhead, so just doing my thing, man. Doing my thing.
Yeah, you support 400 teams and one team in the Premier League is Newcastle, so it's just random. We've also got John and Stu, who are part of the True Faith podcast, one of the best Newcastle United podcasts. You've got to check it out. I'll be doing a podcast show with them later on today as well. Check that one out. But let's say a quick hello to the boys. Good lads. John, how you doing, my man? You good?
Yeah, good. Christmas is finally over, isn't it now? We're starting to look into the new year, and thankfully Newcastle have given some nice presents to us over the festive period, and hopefully that continues tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. We've got to talk about that, haven't we? Yeah. Stu, how are you doing, Stu? You good, brother?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, very good. I think I'm better than the majority of the Spurs team from what I'm reading at the moment anyway. Fit and healthy. So that's good. And like John, yeah, really enjoying the festive period for once. It's not usually a time of great joy for Newcastle fans, and it has been this year, so long may it continue.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we've got an injury crisis. I think some fans have blown it up out of all proportion, and the manager's getting away with it a little bit. We'll discuss it, but now we've got apparently there's an illness bug that's hit us, and we've got players now out with, I don't know what they've got, man flu, cold, I don't know, something's hit us. But look, before we get going, there's one thing I need to ask all of you guys, especially the True Faith podcast guys, because earlier on in the season I did some shows with you. And there was a lot of nerves about the lack of signings. You're not so sure about Paul Mitchell, and you were concerned about the season. We're halfway through. You're in a top four race. You haven't got to worry about midweek games in Europe. Okay, you're in the Carabao Cup still. You've got a midweek game like us, but overall, your manager's got it together. Your players have clicked into gear. Tonali looks like he's having an absolute blinding period of football right now. Are you quietly surprised by this, or is it what you kind of expected? Because going a few months back, it was a bit doom and gloom listening to you guys.
That's a tricky one. I mean, you'll find that we're doing a preview for the Spurs game on the True Faith podcast Patreon platform, I think yesterday or certainly during this week, and I was comparing the sort of fan bases of Spurs, Newcastle, and Manchester United, and I think that the Manchester United, their fan base, although they're absolutely terrible at the moment, seem to be fairly unified behind the new manager because it's early days. We'll see how long that lasts and how far they drop, and if they're still supportive of him. From what I can read, the Spurs fan base was a little bit more aligned to where Newcastle were about a month or 2 months ago, where most people were with Eddie Howe. Then certainly in the stands, I think that was definitely the prevailing opinion. When you moved online, it was a bit of a different story. There was quite a clear divide of people who wanted Eddie Howe in, wanted it kept in, and wanted him to be moved on if there was a better alternative out there. That Eddie Howe brigade kind of was growing and growing, and just before this wee run we went on after the Brentford game, it was probably at its loudest. And look, there's lots of reasons for that. I won't go into them all now because they've all seemed to have fixed themselves. But you mentioned Tonali there; it's one of the main reasons, and that Eddie Howe refused to play him. Just wouldn't play him. He played Sean Longstaff there. It baffled a lot of people. There may be reasons behind that we don't know. All we can do is react to what we're seeing on the pitch, and the players are being picked, and the performances really weren't good enough. And we, you're asking, is it a surprise that we've got it together? Yeah, to the extent we did. I mean, I would have been one of those people saying, like, I think Eddie Howe's run his race at Newcastle. I didn't want him out. I wasn't like, get rid of him, he's terrible, he's awful. I've never said that. I've always said I wanted to see him pull it through, but I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't think he'd be able to do it. I certainly didn't think he'd be able to do it to the extent that we've done it in the last month. It's been a complete 180 in terms of how we've turned everything around performance-wise and things like that, and it's coincided with like Tonali being brought into the team, Anthony Gordon being played in the left as opposed to being moved around. So yeah, it surprised me the extent to which it's flipped the other way. I thought it would be gradual, if anything, and he might get to January, but no, he's well and truly earned whatever time he gets now, and hopefully it's not just like a month sort of flash in the pan. But we do genuinely look like arguably the most dangerous team in the Premier League at the moment, maybe apart from Liverpool.
Fantastic. Music to my ears. The most dangerous team in the league. We just played the first dangerous team and they clobbered us. So, yeah, look, John, I'm listening to Stu and it sounds like he's a bit surprised by the turnaround. Is it just not a case? You've got a good manager. You don't have as many games as some of the other teams in that top 10 because you're not in Europe. And now you're seeing the rewards of that. And maybe you were just a little bit harsh on your manager and you didn't really sign anyone, did you? It was always going to be a bit of a difficult period at some point for Newcastle.
No, we didn't, but the performances were shite for the first 10 games. And I think, like, if you look at, you can look at the results, and some of the results in the first few games, we were lucky to be taking those results. I thought against you lot, St James's, you were the better team for 75 minutes, and somehow we win that game. So, I think those that were House skeptics, it's not based on 2 or 3 games and then thinking, oh, well, we need Mourinho in to win us a trophy, right? I don't think there's a lot of those fans around because, quite frankly, I think Mourinho would be an absolute disaster for Newcastle in terms of what's going on. But it was based on about 12 months of inconsistency. We weren't really showing. Everything was kind of from the start of Howe coming in for the first 18 months, everything was amazing, probably up to PSG at home. And then after that, we struggled, injuries started to come and whatever have you. And there were kind of excuses, but I think the challenge is that the consistency had gone. And the big issue I had here is we'd turn up against Liverpool at home, we'd turn up against City at home, we'd turn up against someone else we played with, Arsenal, that was it. We beat them 1-0 at St James's. We smashed Chelsea in the League Cup, and obviously, yes, it's the League Cup, and they rotated their 11. But look, we would turn up against these really good sides, and then we weren't turning up against West Ham, we weren't turning up against Palace, we weren't turning up against Everton. So the big issue for me was, can we turn up against the lesser sides? And we did that from Leicester at home. We've gone on this great run. But we played, I think it was Leicester at home. Then we had Brentford in the League Cup, which obviously was a huge game to get through the semis against Arsenal. And then Ipswich away. And those 3 games kind of convinced me, right, okay, the players have got this mentality back. And Gordon's talked about that in his pressers. He's been saying how, basically the mentality had to be there. I think Bruno had said that, they've got the close-knit friends in the changing room, but have some really difficult conversations with each other because they weren't doing what they were meant to be doing, basically, and turning up for these games. So for me, that's where the big change has been. The mentality's been there, and then they've rolled that confidence into Villa at home. Yes, there was a stupid sending off for them, but we were the better side comfortably in that game. And then the first half an hour at Old Trafford was like a training exercise. Like, they were absolute dog shit. And going into tomorrow, it's another opportunity with a side that's low on confidence, a lot of injuries, some sort of, West Ham-esque sick bug from about 15, 20 years ago coming back to haunt you. There's a real opportunity for us to turn up and do a job on you. And I think, look, when I saw you at St James's, I thought anyone who finishes above Spurs will be in the Champions League this year. And it just kind of hasn't happened. But the table's still compressed. You could still come back into it. But we've got to focus on what we can do. And I think if we turn up, play our best football tomorrow, we win.
I don't disagree with anything you just said there. That's how confident I am. Steve, we are in a WhatsApp group together, and you've been moaning a lot this season. You haven't been moaning for the last 4 weeks. Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, for me with Eddie Howe, my stance is like I do think we need to move on, and I've been that way. These two guys will remember it. I remember it vividly because it was just that shocking. For me, the turning point of last season and overall what I saw under Eddie Howe was the Boxing Day loss to Forest, the Wood hat trick, because in that game I didn't see our identity that Howe had instilled, and it was so poor. I don't know how we scored in that game. It was just awful. And I was like, do these guys believe in him anymore? Does he believe anymore in what he's doing? So for me, I've always been a bit shaky. I liked how when we appointed him, because I was like, okay, I see the clear like way up with him. He built up Bournemouth from League 2 and brought him to the Premier League and done a fantastic job. So I like Eddie Howe. I think he's a good manager. This recent run, I wouldn't sack him right now. But yeah, we just need to keep going. That's what it is. Man United, I was feeling a bit nervous for the confident, but I was nervous just because of our record at OT. But we done that because we hadn't beaten them since Kabay scored.
You could have been 4-5-0 up in that game in that first game. It's like you.
Yeah, and I was kind of nervous that we didn't get more than 2. I never really thought they were scoring, but yeah. So I'm, Stell, you're right. I have been kind of moaning a lot this year. But in football, for me, the most important thing, besides your first touch, is the midfield. Ever since we've assigned the roles, Bruno, advanced data on the right, Tonali deep, and Joelinton on the left, kind of box to box, we've been superb. We've been scoring more goals since we made that midfield change. We've been defending a lot better since that midfield change. If you look at other teams whose midfield isn't sorted out, aka you guys, look at the midfield is the spine of the team for a reason. And ever since Eddie Howe has finally got there, he's been able to put Livramento at fullback, and then now Trippier's getting a run at right back. He's been able to have Lewis Hall play. Goals are coming from Murphy. Goals are coming from Isak in 6 consecutive Premier League games. The hat trick against Ipswich is phenomenal. So, yeah, I'm feeling really good about the game, and I hope Eddie Howe we can keep him. But, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to a change at the season's end. But I'm enjoying the run right now. That's what it is. I'm enjoying the run right now, and I feel confident about tomorrow. Very confident.
Steve, is there anything? It always fascinates me, that kind of viewpoint, because as I said, I was definitely on the he needs to go. He's run his race, and for all the reasons you outlined, so I don't disagree with you on anything you've said. But is there anything he could do to change your mind at this point, or are you dead set? So for me, for example, a big factor in things was the cup and the fact that the League Cup. I know Spurs might not look at it the way we look at it, in that it's enshrined in glory. It's just a trophy, and Spurs have won something much more recently than us. But yeah, it's a huge deal, and getting to as far as we've gotten that cup and getting to the semi-final is massive, and that was what's kicked off the run. And I think if he won a cup, for me, he'd almost be untouchable, providing he didn't go on some absolutely stinking run. Is there anything that he could do, placement-wise, keep this consistency up, win a trophy that would change your mind, or are you completely dead set?
What I want from Howe, for me to keep him going into like next season, put your best players on the pitch, do some damage in the cups. I'm not even asking to win it. Obviously, that is the goal. And if he won it, then yeah, you're right. For me, he's like an untouchable. And in the league, again, put your best 11 out there. If you have to do a little rotation here and there, that's cool. We have Cher out for tomorrow, so I understand Lloyd Kelly comes in, no choice there. But like, get us back to what we were when we first got you. That identity, the way we play. That's what we all fell in love with. That was the breath of fresh air from SB, our old horrid managers. So yeah, he could definitely win me back. But like I said, since that Boxing Day loss to Forest, and it's crazy because that game, if you look at it back now, Forest have been doing that to teams. right? That loss to Forest on Boxing Day was a precursor to what they're doing this year, because they've been outstanding, obviously.
Steve,
Yeah.
like your manager is putting the players in the right position now. You're in a you're in a semi-final of a cup, which is what you said. And I've got some experience in this as a Spurs fan the last 7-8 years. When you get into that top 4, or you're there and thereabouts, to stay there, and just to stay there, you need to sign 2 or 3 good players each season. To push on, you need to sign and keep your Isaacs, keep your Tonalis. This is where Spurs have fallen apart. We didn't keep Kane, we didn't keep Berbatov, we didn't keep Modric, we didn't keep Bale, we didn't keep Eriksen, and so on and so on and so on. And then the players we bring in, they've never quite been good enough. And the fact that you're still there is testament to your manager. Like we praise Poch for keeping us there against all the odds without the signings. So don't you think you're being like a bit harsh on Eddie Howe? And maybe you should be pointing the finger at your owners a bit more and saying, you got to back this guy.
Well, clearly I kind of, because it was unveiled, I forget when it was, but it was after the summer window had ended, that our CEO, Darren Eales, who's stepped down, he was dealing with cancer the whole summer. And we had the PSR issues. We had to sell Minte to Brighton, sold Elliot Anderson to Forest. And so I have to reflect, like during the summer, I'm like, what the hell? Why can't we do better than Kelly, Osula, the Vlachodimos? So I'm like, why can't we do a bit more? That's why I put us like 8th at the start of the season, because I'm like, everyone else around us is attempting to improve. They're putting money down. They're bringing in new players that aren't Osulas and Kellys. Villa went out and had a decent window. Man United, they tried
Steve, sorry, I get all that, but it's because you said you're Eddie Howe out. That's the bit I'm talking about. That's not to do with Eddie Howe, though, is it?
No, and that's why I'm saying on reflection of it, maybe I was a bit harsh because of the transfer window, and there were reasons why we didn't do certain things in the transfer window. So, maybe I am a bit harsh on him, but for me, it was like, again, the identity that he brought to us, it just kind of vanished, and it's been inconsistent this season a bit up until this really good run. But if he keeps this up, if he puts the best players on the pitch in their roles that we need them to do, barring suspension and injury, then like I'm cool with him staying. That's what it is. So maybe I was a bit harsh, but like the Southampton win on the opening day, we were poor before the sending off of Cher. Awful. And we didn't have Tonali at the time. I get that, but we're a way better side than Southampton. And the level of play in that Southampton game was again kind of a precursor to what we got some wins.
Wait till you see your team lose to Ipswich at your home ground, then talk to me.
Yeah.
Let's get into tomorrow's game. So I think it's fair to say going into this game, Newcastle are favourites. Is that fair, guys? Would you say Newcastle are probably the favourites? Yeah.
I'm just worried you're going to pull some rabbit out of the hat, like the 4-1 Villa win or the 4-0 Man City. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
I think, right, for me, I think that, but you never know, Spurs might beat you 4-0. Spurs. That's not really happening anymore, because fans said, trust Spurs. They'll probably go to Nottingham Forest and they'll beat them 3-0.
I knew y'all were losing.
And we played like absolute crap. Then fans said, all right, Wolves have got their new manager bounce, but typical Spurs, they'll go and beat them 4-0. Honestly, we didn't. And we didn't look like we were going to beat them 4-0. So I think the Spurs fans who are saying, wouldn't it be typical of Spurs to smash Newcastle 4-1? It's not happening. Unless you get a sending off and some really horrendous VAR decisions, it's not happening. Sure. I look at this game and I agree with what John said. If Newcastle turn up and play the football they've been playing, you're going to win this game. We aren't going to stop that midfield of yours. Our midfield is wishy-washy at the moment. We've been knackered. We haven't been able to rotate players because of injury. That's partly down to Ange as well. He could have rotated earlier on in the season. He brought back Van der Ven and Romero too early and they got injured again. So partly it's the club's fault. Partly it's Ange's fault. Partly a bit of bad luck. But now with this virus as well, there's rumours that Gray and Dragusin are out, which means we have no defence, like none. The only thing I'm hoping, which is we might get a draw. like we might get a draw, is you've got no Shah. I've heard your goalie might be out as well. And the one thing about Spurs is we have got goals in us. We can score goals. And if you show some vulnerability and you give us space, we will hurt you. But is it going to be enough to beat you? I don't know. I don't know. So for me, I think you'll win it. I do think you'll win. I don't think you're going to batter us. I don't believe all this 4-5-0. I think you'll win it by a goal or two, a 3-1, a 2-1. But if you're off your game, and if we exploit that defensive weakness you're going to bring to our ground, we could get a draw. If you go 2-0 up early, guys, I fear it, because our fans are deflated and we're not going to back them. We're not going to cheer them on. Our players' heads drop quickly. If you come out the way you did at Old Trafford against us and you do that, yeah, it could be a bad day for us. But a draw is the best I'm hoping for, but I think you lot are going to win it. How do you see it? How do you see it, guys?
We've scored early, very early in the past 3 games. So to your point, I think that could be big trouble if we do that. Now, I think Spurs will, Ange will have them up for it, because it's the last throes of a dying man. Like, his head is on the chopping block here, and he doesn't win this game, I think, convincingly, or as the team put in a bit of a stinker, or I think he probably could go. I think he will have them up for it, so they will maybe come out. But if we are able to catch you on the counter or get an early goal, as we have done in the last 3 games, I think the crowd get a bit nasty. You'll know much more than me, Estelle, what that would be like, and the impact that would have on the actual players. I don't know that, but I know it's never a good thing usually. And I think probably an early goal. If we get an early goal, I do think there will be a sort of 2-3 goal margin win for us. If we don't, and that's entirely possible that we don't, I still think we'll win, but I'll be a bit closer. I do think a bit closer. You mentioned the defense there. One thing I wouldn't discount, not necessarily, Eddie Howe is a very boring man. He's very conservative. He's very dull, and usually he plays the safety card most times. However, very occasionally he pulls these wee rabbits out of hats and he decides to do, just do random things. And
Lloyd Kelly left back against Bournemouth. Example A.
I wouldn't totally discount Botman starting. Genuinely. I genuinely wouldn't discount
what's the situation with Botman, Stu?
He's back. He's in and around the squad, but Eddie Howe never, ever throws people in. He did throw Botman in when we first signed him because we needed to. Lascelles was our captain a couple of years back, and he came off with an injury, and Botman had to come on. Now, he wasn't returning from injury. He just signed. The way he was talking in the presser today, Eddie Howe, made me think, I think Botman's going to start. I don't think he's too impressed.
He's a good player, Botman.
I think Botman will start with Burn. I really, really do. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see.
I totally agree with Stu. I think I've seen enough. I mean, Eddie Howe does this thing where you'll be like, oh, if a player's been injured, and you'll say, well, he hasn't trained this week, and then what'll happen is he'll then start on the Saturday. And it was just the noises he was coming out today with Botman saying, well, I had said it would be around the festive games when he might come back, and all of this, and paired with the fact that Cher can't play. It does make you think, well, actually maybe we'll go to Botman, and that's, I think none of us, we talked about this on the preview yesterday, didn't we, Stu? But like, none of us thought that he's likely to go that way. We all talked about Lloyd Kelly coming in, but you can totally see the temptation. Why? Because Botman, when he's fully fit and when he's firing, he's a Rolls Royce of a player. That guy, honestly, he really is. Yeah. He's so important to us, and fair play to Dan Burn, I think, for kind of holding that mantle really, and the emergence of Lewis Hall at left backs really helps kind of that dynamic as well. But he's just a total class. Stelios, I want to ask you about this before. You're talking about Spurs have sold Kane. They've got there's players that haven't managed to keep hold of, and then they haven't replaced it. Is it just because I think it goes back to the PSR question, doesn't it? You have to manage. Now, I know Spurs bring in a hell of a lot more commercial revenue that we do, thanks to the spaceship that you've got currently sitting in North London at the moment. But I suppose the wider question around all of that is that the system is still a bit rigged, and it's rigged towards a certain number of clubs who are going to always have a better chance of staying up there because of the money that they can bring in, and yet you have to be able to sell players. It's the reason we haven't brought in players is because we haven't sold any players. we haven't managed to sell players where, at the right
Yeah.
time, and it's been a mismanagement, really. I think as much as I love her, Amanda Staveley was playing fantasy football for the first 18 months or so, and she wasn't thinking about what needed to go out. She was thinking about what needed to come in, and there was an opportunity to sell Almiron and Wilson at the end of 22-23, and we didn't take those chances, but we signed more players, and then we had to sell Minty and Anderson for 60 odd million. So do you not think an element is that Levy's actually just trying to make sure that essentially you're never in a position that Everton or Forest got into when they're getting points taken off them, and still kind of trying to keep you up at that top end despite that?
None of our players have left because we needed the money. They left because they were sick of not winning anything at Spurs, and they felt that their careers were stagnating. They've all gone to bigger and better clubs. Kyle Walker went to Man City. Berbatov went to Man United. Eriksen went to Inter Milan, then Man United. Harry Kane went to Bayern Munich. Modric went to Real Madrid.
Trippier went to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
Then
Gareth
Newcastle
went to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Then Newcastle. So none of our players have left because we had to sell them. They left because they wanted out. They refused to sign new contracts, or they went on strike. So it's got nothing to do with the money. Spurs can spend a lot of money. And to be fair, we've spent in the last 5 or 6 years, I think we're the second or third highest spenders in the Premier League. Spurs spend money. We spend it badly, but we spend money.
Yeah.
Where Spurs are tight is the wage bill. If you look at our wage bill and you compare us to Villa, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, about 6 or 7 teams above us, we've got the least amount of players on 100k a week or more. Most of our players are 50,000 a week, 70,000 a week. So if you look at Van der Ven, he's on like 40 grand a week or something stupid, or 70 grand a week. I think Solanke, he's on 60, 70. Johnson's on 50, 60. So we sign players in mind of the wage bill. So when you're buying players based on wages, there's that saying, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, right? So this is our issue. But then we bring in Timo Werner on loan, so he's free, practically, and we put him on 165k a week, and he's absolutely rubbish. And he's like the third highest paid player at the club. So in terms of keeping us financially stable and not being Everton, like you said, yeah, look, the board's done a magnificent job. You can't knock them. Levy and Enoch have been sensational, but with the money they have got and the FFP and PSR power that we now have over so many other clubs, including you, they've failed to build a successful squad under any manager. And they continue to bring in players that are just abysmal or not at the levels we need. You could partly blame the managers, but it happens under every manager. You could partly blame the football directors and head scouts, but it happens under all of them as well. At some point, you've got to say to people at the top, do you really want success? Like, do you genuinely want to win stuff? Or is it about the money and just keeping us in that kind of top 6 bracket where the cash flow comes in and we're relevant? So off the field, they're brilliant. On the field, it's been 3 decades of just mediocrity, man. So the fans are split on this. The fans are very split, but more now are leaning towards Levy out. More are going that way. So that's where we're at.
And in terms of the Ange out sentiment, Stelios, because obviously there's been a few comments that you've popped up on YouTube. So is that the same in the ground as well? Like, is it got to the point now where the fans in the ground are like, we wouldn't change, or?
Right. So the fans are split in kind of 3 sections, right? You've got those that are Ange out. They've seen enough. They think he's tactically inept. They don't think he's getting the best out of the players, and that because you've got injuries and because you haven't got the players to play the way you want, you've got to change it to navigate through this tough period until you get your players back. You can't keep doing the same thing and losing to Forest, losing to Ipswich, losing to drawing against Wolves, getting battered against Liverpool. And, a lot of fans are going into the Newcastle game expecting a loss. I mean, that's just messed up. That's one side. Then you've got the Ange in. We can't keep sacking managers. We've got to stick by him. No matter what, it's a project. It's a process. Rome wasn't built in a day, so on, so on, so on. We're with him to the end. Then you got the ones in the middle. We just want to be entertained. Just entertain us as long as we're entertained. So they did a poll, right? There was this poll. I think 5,000 or 6,000 people voted. Would you rather lose 6-3 to Liverpool playing Ange ball, or would you rather win 1-0 playing Conte ball? Losing 6-3 playing Ange ball won the vote.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
So you're either Ange in, Ange out, or entertain me, Robbie Williams. Yeah. I'm Ange out. I'm done with him.
He's awful, man.
The stats are abysmal. His inability to adapt is shocking, and his just stubbornness is who we are, mate. We won't change. I'm sorry, but everyone's got to change in moments. You can't just keep doing the same old, especially when it's failing. So, and listen, we lost to Crystal Palace away when they were in a relegation fight. We lost to Brighton when we were 2-0 up, and we lost to Ipswich at home. That was before the injury crisis. So there's an argument to say, hey, man, but even when you've got your players, you cock it up. But look, the fans are massively split on this. There's no one answer. So we go into this game divided on the board, divided on the manager, divided on the players. It's civil war online. You seem united and together. And I think you're coming into this on an upward trajectory. We're coming into this on a downward trajectory. Throw in this man flu virus that everyone's got now as well. It could be a really bad day for us tomorrow, man. I'm not looking forward to it. I actually don't want to watch it, but I will because I'm a fan.
It's funny how much has changed in 4 weeks, though, Stelios, because 4 weeks ago it wasn't like that at all,
That's football. Maybe in 4 weeks' time it will change again, but I'm not convinced. A lot of fans as well. They're clinging on to the fact we're in the Carabao Cup semi-final and we're still in the Europa Cup. And I think whilst those two trophies are in play, Ange is getting a get-out-of-jail-free card. I think when Liverpool knock us out the Carabao Cup, I just don't see us getting past them. Then it's all our eggs in the Europa Cup. And I think that's a dangerous game to play. Stick with the manager just because we're in Europa. Don't worry if we go to 14th, 15th, 16th in the league. Don't worry about that. I think that's a very dangerous game to play, but fans are prepared to play it. I don't represent all Spurs fans, but a lot of fans are prepared to play that game. So I don't know. Look, I mean, how do you guys feel what's your perception when you look at Spurs and you hear what's going on? You chat to Spurs fans and you observe Sky Sports, YouTube, and what's your impression on what's going on at our club?
Just makes me laugh. Honestly, it's low key. You are high key. You I'm gonna be honest though, and you know this. Like you're a banter club at the moment. Like your fans are defending this manager who plays suicide football. You're easy to beat. He plays into the opposition's strengths. He doesn't play players in the correct position. You're right. No changes, no significant tactical adaptations from your manager has cost you in so many games to supposed inferior teams. Like it's horrible. He likes Timo Werner. He backed that side. He wanted Timo Werner. Bro, Timo Werner is awful. And he costs you how much? 180 grand a week? Like it's funny. And the thing that's funny about it, Sal, is not the people that are calling it how it is like you. It's the people that defend it. Because it's like, what the hell are you defending? What is so like special or promising about
they're the majority
though?
Set of players. I think they're the majority though, Steve.
Yeah.
I think they're fans are scared. Fans are scared of changing manager again because we've done it about 7 million times under this ownership. But this is the thing. The fans didn't want to be this stubborn and backing when Poch got sacked, when Mourinho was here and he got sacked before a cup final, when Conte was in, he got us fourth twice with an average squad. But now this guy's come in who's actually been quite suspect. No, we must back him. It's almost like we've chosen the wrong manager to say, right, this time we're backing him. What have we done here? Yes. We've done this back to front. But I want to get John and Stu's take on this as well. When you look at Spurs, not historically, but more now with Ange, his first season last year and how it's going now. What do you see? Because obviously I'm biased. I'm a Spurs fan. I'll only see it from my eyes.
He was a breath of fresh air last year for about 2 months at the very start of the season, when the talk of titles was being floating around. And to be fair to me, I don't think he was entertaining those seriously. He let them dream, kind of thing. So, like he was. I'm from Ireland, and therefore we have a real. Lots of people in Ireland support Celtic and Rangers, so I have a lot of not interest, but I have a lot of exposure to the whole Rangers Celtic thing. So subsequently, I end up being exposed to a lot of Scottish football, particularly Celtic and Rangers, and so I saw a lot of Ange football at Celtic, and he was head and shoulders above anything else in that league, and that style of football was very, very good for that league, which isn't saying much particularly, but it shows you he was definitely going to be picked up by someone, and to the point where when he was linked with jobs, I think possibly it was Liverpool job was up or something, and I spoke to a friend of mine who supports Celtic, and he said, "Oh, he's going to go to a top 3 club." Maybe if Pep goes, he'll go this before Spurs. That's the steam that some Celtic fans had him in. I think that's slightly diluted, but that's neither here nor there. The way it is now, it seemed for me, it's not exactly the same as Howe, but he had a very good start, and Howe took a while to get going, but then had a very good first season. Was backed, I think. He, as you've already pointed, he's very inflexible tactically, and that is a problem if you're playing with players that can't do it. You see it all the time. I think a good example of it would be the likes of Luton. Luton last year,
Gung ho.
even more so this year. Luton
Yeah.
have tried to play the same type of football despite losing a lot of players because they went down. Tried to play the same type of football they played in the Championship. The players have gotten worse. And when you try and play a certain type of football when you haven't got the players, it doesn't work. You have to have an element of pragmatism as a manager. It's literally in the name. You're managing the situation, you're managing the players, you're managing the games, and that means adapting and changing. It is good to have a philosophy. It's definitely good. It's admirable, and I think it's one of the reasons why I succeeded so much at Celtic. But the Celtic thing is slightly, analogous because you have players that are, by the comparison to the rest of the league, far and away the best players in that league. And of course, when they train to play good football, they'll absolutely smash the league to ribbons. But when you have players and you have injury problems and things like that happen, or players get sold or not replaced properly, because of the issues you've outlined with Levy not investing in the squad maybe quite as much, you're going to have problems, So I'm not defending him. I think all the things Steve said are completely accurate. I don't think he's a great coach. And one of the things that we were talking about as a podcast actually was when he goes, because he will go eventually, where does he fit? Because he's too good for Scotland in that respect, probably. I don't think he's a top 6 manager at all. I don't even think he's a top half manager. Is he a bottom half Premier League manager? Is he a Championship manager?
He'd relegate a bottom half team.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of the point, because you're playing teams. You're playing with players there.
Well, he did get us 5th. He did get us 5th last year, Stu. To give him credit, he did get us 5th place.
But you should have had champion. By the way, you should have finished 4th. You collapsed towards the end of the season.
We did collapse. You're right. But I think top 6 with backing. I think that's his space. Top 6 with backing. I think 1 game a week as well. No midweek rotation. Just 1 game a week.
I think what the inflexibility things. I think the biggest issue he's got, and Eddie Howe got a lot of criticism around that, around being loyal to certain players and not being prepared to move away from 4-3-3. But if you actually look at his first season, he didn't just kind of say, right, this is my style and this is what I'm doing, and go at it gung ho. He understood that we were in a relegation battle and we needed to get points and we needed to get results. And I think the difference between what Howe does and what Ange does is Howe is almost got a philosophy which is a guidance, and Ange has got guidance which is a script. And if you can't deviate from the script, whereas the guidance is there, and you need to be flexible with that guidance depending on the situation. And I think that's where the difference is. There have been times in game where we've struggled to make those changes, but I think now we've got that midfield right. That structure's there. But yeah, he does smell of a manager who's running out of ideas. But I kind of get League Cup semi-final, you're 9th in the Europa League table, 5 points behind the top space, and obviously the higher you finish up in that table depends on the
We're
better
1
seed
point.
you'll get, and of the automatic qual.
Yeah.
You joint on points with Rangers at the minute.
We're 1 point below
So
Rangers. 1 point below Rangers.
Yeah. So as long as you finish in that top 8, you'll automatically qualify, and then that's 2 games you won't have to play. But I think, looking at all of it, you can see why it almost looks like the writing's on the wall for him. I really liked him last year. As Stu said, breath of fresh air. This idea of wanting to play good football, I totally empathise with it, because I'm not being funny. If you're going to Spurs and you're paying 200 quid for a ticket, you want to see good football. Like, I can totally understand that, or whatever it is. I've plucked to figure out the sky there, so I apologise.
Newcastle tomorrow.
Yeah.
My season ticket is the cheapest season ticket in the stadium, and I've put it up for sale, and I've got my money. Someone's bought the ticket, and I've got the cheapest ticket, and it's £81. The cheapest ticket.
Yeah. Exactly. So if you're paying 80 quid to go and see,
battered,
yeah, basically, yeah, but you do expect that now. But I think the mentality is different. There's a difference between I want to play entertaining football, but we need to try winning doing it, and we're gonna go play entertaining football regardless. Now, under our previous non-ambitious ownership, I would have taken playing entertaining football and staying in the league. That's exactly what I would have taken. But when the ownership changed and the potential for you to perform is there, that's a very different viewpoint, and you need to be able to be flexible with those things and ultimately deliver what you need to deliver on the pitch and get those points.
Yeah, and this is where the fan base are torn. Is it entertainment over results? Is it who cares about the results? Just win a cup, and no one group of fans can agree on, or one section of fans can agree on what they want. We're all just arguing with each other, and in some ways divide the fan base. Then no one's going to unite and take action against the owners, which is what we've seen, because the protests that have been set up this season have not really done anything. Not many fans attending at all, but that's what happens when fans are split.
Sorry to butt in again. There was a comment that came up before about Ange accepting half-baked players. And I actually think that's maybe part of the appeal for Levy, because if you've got a coach that's prepared to take players, work on them to improve them. Now, look, if you look at Newcastle's squad before Eddie Howe came in and where those players are in terms of how they play now, it's night and day. Now, has Ange done that with enough players? And maybe that's the question. If he hasn't, then who could come in and do that? Because if that's what Levy's after, I want players that aren't at their full potential. We want them below that level so we can build them up, get them to a point where we're successful, and then potentially, you sell that big name, and then that brings more, a bit like the Gareth Bale transfer, but spend it wisely this time, that kind of thing. That's really the I suppose that's what they're looking for, but he hasn't. From what I can see, I don't think he's necessarily really improved the players that have come in.
I don't think a single. Sorry, so I was just gonna say, Ange has not improved a single player. He hasn't. Udogie's regressed.
Kulusevski looks good this season.
Sure, I'll give you Kulu.
Johnson scored more goals, but he's still a bang average player.
He's so limited.
Yeah, he is.
Johnson. He's so limited. He suits a counter-attacking team. You are not a counter-attacking team. Well, actually, having said that, most of your good, like the Man City win, was counter-attacking. And then, again, this is where Ange screws up, because it's like, yo, take that approach because it suits your play, whatever.
Well,
I don't think a single player.
Udogie's
got way worse. Because I watched him at Udinese on loan as a wing back in the 3-5-2. And I was like, wow, this kid's impressive. Spurs have a decent player. Let's see if he can do the left back thing. And remember opening day, I forget who you guys played. Udogie played fantastic. I think it was Brentford. You guys played Brentford last year. Yeah, Udogie was one of the standout players. I have not seen a standout performance from Udogie this season. I don't think I've seen one.
We invert the fullbacks, but we invert them into the number 10 position. And
they're not number 10s.
I know. Whereas Porro and Udogie are overlapping fullbacks, which is that's what they did at Sporting Lisbon and Udinese. So there's a big argument over whether Ange is doing the best for the players he's got. Look, I agree. He hasn't really improved anyone in that team. Madison seems to be ostracized. Pape Sarr, up, down. Basuma, same old. Udogie, Porro have regressed. Romero's regressed. Van de Ven, he's injured.
Van de
Solanke,
Ven is just getting killed.
Werner's
Van de
awful.
Ven's career, Werner's.
I look, to summarize this, because I don't want to spend the whole show on leaving Enoch, but because I want to get into our predictions and I briefly talk about the Carabao Cup because we're both still in it. We were told, be patient. We're going to build this stadium. It's going to make loads of money. It's going to be a game changer. We're going to compete with the best. We've built a state-of-the-art training ground. We're going to build the infrastructure to take Tottenham to the motherland. Since that stadium opened, it's been a disaster. We've regressed. We've gone backwards quite quickly, actually, from where we were under Poch.
Yeah.
Okay, COVID cost us. No one can compensate for that. It's unfortunate. We were heavily in debt at the time, so we felt the pinch maybe more than others. But we've recovered from that. We're making record income. We're doing fantastically well in terms of FFP, PSR. The stadium's packed. The revenue, he's put the tickets up. He's put the merchandise prices up. Spurs are in a fantastic position to become something really good. So when you sign Werner, Solanke, a bunch of kids that we've never heard of that might be good, might not be good, you look at it and you think, why did we build that stadium? We could have made these signings in the old stadium. Like what was the point? And this is where it's all gone wrong. And you're right. You're spot on when you say, but the manager is accepting it. Poch accepted it. Mourinho accepted it. Ange is now bending over backwards more than anyone, saying it's on me. I have the final say. I knew what I was walking into. I know what this club's about. So he's putting it all on his shoulders. The only one that didn't accept it was Conte. Because when he had enough of it, he said, right, I'm just going to put it all out there. And he blew
Southampton press conference.
He blew the roof off of it. So, yeah, look, you're right, guys. But that all said, there is a game tomorrow. We all kind of agree you're going to win. Let's do a prediction, and then we'll briefly talk about the Carabao Cup, and we can wrap it up. So, I'll start with you, Stu. What's your thinking for tomorrow? Are you going to blitz us, or is it going to be a narrow win, or maybe a draw? I don't know. Will you draw?
I think we'll win, to surprise nobody. I don't think it'll be as easy as maybe we're laying out, but then I'm perpetually worried that Newcastle will do something wrong, or even the Manchester United game. I think, Steve, you said the same thing. I was probably in the same boat as you. We were 2-0 up, and I was still very, very nervous about it, having not won there for a very long time. So
because it's OT.
Yeah. It was just Manchester United and Old Trafford, and just we can't have nice things, basically. So I'm always worried about things like that. So I think we'll win. A lot of it, as I said earlier, will depend on the timing of if we do score. If we get an early goal, I think it could be a bit of a barnstormer, but I'm not saying we will. So I'll play it slightly more conservative and say we'll win 2-1. I think Spurs will score. I think you're quite right, Stel, that you've arguably too good a team not to score. Dubravka is much better with his feet than Pope, but not as good as shot stopper. So if I was Ange, I'd be saying, just shoot on sight. If you can get within 20 yards of the goal, shoot. I don't think he's pretty suspect. He's not a bad shot stopper, but I would just do it anyway, have a go, because that's probably the only chance that they'll be able to get with Tonali playing in the position he plays as number 6. And even if we don't have Botman on there, having Dan Burn and the fullbacks playing as has been playing defensively, we've been very, very solid in the last 4 or 5 games. And I would hope we would be able to continue that, but it's a very stern test. So I'll say 2-1.
2-1 to Newcastle. John, are you thinking the same, or are you a bit more ambitious, a bit more adventurous with it?
Only slightly more ambitious. So I mean, we were joking. We obviously did the preview yesterday, and we did our predictions. And I was torn between 2-1 and 3-1, and Stu went for first and said 2-1. So by default, the podcast rule, you can't all have the same score. So I went for 3-1. But no, I think we'll start fast. I think Isak will score the first goal. I then fancy us to get a second through Bruno. Been a while since he's got on the score sheet, but I think I can see that coming. I think we potentially concede at the start of the second half, and then I think we manage the game. Barnes comes off the bench and gets the third. 3-1.
3-1 to Newcastle. Steve-O, what about you, my man?
Listen, we better be going down to the Tottenham Hotspur Arena 4-1 reason. For 4-1, man. For real. Like, I'm gonna be furious if we don't win this game. I don't care if it doesn't have to be the 4-1, but I'm gonna be low key, like, because you are so vulnerable. Spurs are so vulnerable right now, and Man United scored 3 past you, albeit in a loss. Liverpool put 6. I mean, your record at home lately is, I think in the Premier League, you're 5 winless at home. And also, one of the stats I found about
We've
Spurs
won 2 in 10 or 2 in 11, something like that.
That's atrocious. And also, one of the stats I found, it's not exact, but it's something along the lines of no Premier League team had ever gone down 1-0 at home, no less than 15 times. Spurs in the calendar year just gone, you went down 1-0 15 times.
Yeah, we've got the record. We've got the record now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Under Ange.
So, yeah. And he's got many more bad records, by the way. Holy hell. So yeah, we football's a funny game, but with the way we're playing, the way you're playing, and we need, just like we capitalized on Man United being horrible, we need to go do that. And I think we will. I feel confident. I worry because, like, you can just all of a sudden get the 4-0 Man City win and the 4-1 Villa win. So I have that creep in the back of my mind, but I'm very confident, not trying to be too cocky about it because piss off some football gods, but I'll go 4-1 because we have been scoring a lot of goals lately. You've been conceding a lot of goals. You don't have your first choice goalkeeper in there, albeit we don't either.
I don't think our second choice goalkeeper is available. I think he's one of the players that's got the bug as well. From what I'm
there
hearing.
You go. So it's going to be like Charlie.
Archie Gray. Archie Gray's going to go in goal. He's played everywhere else. We'll just put him in goal.
Yeah, it's gonna your other goalkeepers are Charlie Austin and
Brandon Austin. He's American English or Gunter.
Brandon.
Yeah,
Charlie Austin's a slightly different player. Yeah.
Yeah, I mixed them up. But yeah, I'm confident going into it. I think we score in like the first 10 minutes ish. Yeah, I'm getting up at 7:30. Wake me up with some goals, man. 4-1.
Yeah, you got the 5-hour time difference. 4-1. So 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. Shall I go 5-1 and then it all kind of sinks nice? Look, we score goals, man. We do score goals, and I think we'll score a couple tomorrow. I think we'll get a couple of goals, but you've been scoring 4s and 3s, and you should have been 5-6 up against Man United. You're in banging form, and I think we might actually put out our weakest defense of the season tomorrow with this injury crisis plus this flu bug or whatever it is that we've got. I think it's going to be 4-2. I think we're going to lose 4-2. Okay. I think you're going to put minimum 3-2, but I reckon we'll put 2 past you and you'll put 3 or 4 past us. I think 4-2 Newcastle. I think you guys are going to be on it and we're going to be we'll be on it as well, but you're better than us right now. You're much better than us right now.
If you were a betting man, you'd take over on the goals, basically.
Yeah, all day long. Without
a lot of goals tomorrow.
So when Spurs win 4-0, we'll reconvene next week and discuss.
I'll show up, by the way, on the post. I'll show up on the post-game show. You know, I was there after the 4-1 loss last year.
Well, look, you're all welcome on that 9 p.m. tomorrow night. But look, before we go, because I don't want to take up any more time, you guys are in the Carabao Cup midweek against Arsenal. We're against Liverpool. Our first game is at White Hart Lane, and the second leg's at Anfield, which is why I'm convinced we're going out. Because if the tie depends on the game at Anfield, we're toast. We're absolute toast. We've won there 3 times in 100 years. So I don't expect this current team and that current Liverpool team for anything to change. So I listen, guys, I think we're out. If we get a 2 or 3 goal advantage in the first leg because they've rested players and we've put all our eggs into the basket, even then I think they're going to do us. So I think, look, personally, I'm just being realistic. I think Spurs will crash out. But I think your game's quite tight now because they don't have Saka and you're in good form. Is the first leg at St. James's or at the Emirates?
Emirates on Tuesday.
So second leg at your ground?
Yeah.
You've got a chance, you know, guys. You must be talk to me, Stu. you must be fancying your chances. If you can get a draw at Emirates and take it back to St James's.
Yeah, one of the maybe minor issues we might be facing tomorrow is that a couple of players might have wee eye on that semi-final. I might just be thinking about that, especially players that will
We're the same.
lined up to play.
Stu, we're the same.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, yeah.
I suppose I think it, as to your point, it looks a bit more realistic to playing at home in the second leg is a big bonus. Howe's even come out and said that's what they wanted. They like playing at home. We play very well at home, and even Arsenal. We've already beat Arsenal at home this season. Even when we're playing quite poorly, we were able to raise our game and beat them. So, yeah, it's hard. I'm especially with cups. We've just never won one in my lifetime, and many people older than me in their lifetime as well. So I never get too ahead of myself with it. But when we were going through a bit of a bad patch, or we're just starting on this one we're going on now, the league wasn't the concern for me, and arguably still isn't. And look, if we win tomorrow, we're well in that race for top four, not just because of where we are, but because of who we've beaten. Yes, Spurs are having a poor season. They're still Spurs. Same for Manchester United. They're still Man United. We'll have beaten Arsenal, Spurs, Manchester United, and we'll be, let's say, 5th or 4th or somewhere in and around there. So it'll be a hugely significant win, especially to go away to a team like Spurs and win, even in their current guise. But even at that, I still consider the League Cup to be the most a priority. If you ask me to choose between you're going to get to the final, not just win, get to the final or get beaten your next 2 games, I go to the final every day of the week. Every day of the week. I wouldn't even talk about it. Even though we have a dreadful record like you guys against Liverpool as well, and if it is Liverpool, it's probably not going to be a great day for us again, like 2 years ago. But yeah, it's a trophy. We just want a trophy. Like I would happily take a lot to lose every game the rest of the season. Stay up in 16th or whatever and win a trophy. I don't care. I just want the trophy. I think it's a big thing. I don't think those two things are going to happen. I don't think they work. I think if we are going to win a trophy and beat a team like Liverpool or even like a team like Spurs in a final, we need to be playing with confidence. That was the reason we didn't beat Manchester United. We took our eye off the ball. We got distracted. We got overexcited. We got overly emotional in the run up to the game. Our form fell off a cliff, and we had a really good season. It completely fell off a cliff. Pope obviously got sent off against Liverpool, and that didn't help at all with a third choice keeper like you guys have playing in a final. That was really unfortunate, but it meant that when we came to the game, we're so emotional and so into it, and Manchester United came there, and it was just like another Saturday morning or Sunday morning. They didn't care. Their fans didn't care. The players didn't care. To the point where they were just relaxed about it, and it was just another game, another win, another trophy added to the collection. They were able to do that. I hope we can treat it a bit differently this time and we don't get overly distracted. So yeah, it's absolutely massive still, mate. It's huge. And I've been, even when I've tried sort of to distance myself slightly from the team when we've been playing terribly in league football, going like, oh, I always want us to win. I'm always invested in it. But if we're playing terribly, we're not getting wins, like, well, sure, it's another game. The cup games I was incredibly nervous about because it's our most realistic chance. The big hitters play their second teams, play the youth players. I wouldn't discount you guys doing Liverpool, especially if they play a team that they played last year. But I think you're quite right. It's unlikely just the way they're playing at the moment and the way you're playing. But yeah, it's massive. It's absolutely massive for me, and I think most Newcastle fans feel probably quite similar.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, just on the point that Stu made, I was at Wembley until they lifted the trophy. As soon as they lifted the trophy, I was like, right, that's it. Seen too much of this.
Fuck this.
Most of them were already on Wembley Way. We ended up, we stayed north. We stayed in Edgware. And we got on the tube, and the whole tube, apart from us, were Man United fans. And I made a joke and said, "Well, is there some sort of convention going on?" And they were like, "No, we just drove down for the day, and we're just driving back." Like for them, it was a business trip: turn up, win, leave. For us, it was an occasion. I think the difference this season is if you've watched the League Cup games, with the exception probably of Wimbledon, we were horrible to win those games. Yeah. But we've looked hungry to win those games, and we've looked like we care more than any other
we're on
side
a
in the
mission.
competition. Yeah, 100%.
So do you guys, Steve, do you think you'll knock out Arsenal in this tie over 2 legs? Because the second leg is end of Jan, beginning of Feb, so Saka will still be out. Although Arsenal might have signed some players by then, but so might have you. Who knows? Do you think you can? Do you think you'll knock them out, or do you think Arsenal they're they're just better than you, and they'll find a way.
Yeah, I do. I actually do think we knocked them out narrowly. I think what'll happen is we'll lose 1-0 in the first leg, which, to be honest, as loser mentality as this might sound, to go to Arsenal and only because they have potential, even without Saka. Like, they did put 3 past Brentford, they did put 5 past Palace, so they still have shown without Saka they can score 3 or 5 goals, even without some of their better players. So like a 1-0, and considering our record at the Emirates is horrible, pretty sure last time we won was 2008-9. Andy Carroll was playing for us, so it's been a while. And draws, like our record at the Emirates overall is horrible, right? So
that's why the second leg at St James's is such a big part of this.
Exactly.
That's why I think you got.
So like right now, if you told me we lose 1-0 on Tuesday, but battle and we just try our very, very best and don't let it get over 1-0, I'd probably take it, because then I feel good about us at home versus them. Because when they come to our ground, we win the physical and mental battle. And you know where it starts? The midfield. I know Eddie Howe's gonna play our the first choice 11 in both legs. Obviously, Bruno and Cher are suspended for the first leg, but I know Bruno and Cher, if they're healthy and not suspended, they'll start the second leg. We'll play Tonali, whatever. So I feel good about the second leg, as long as it's a 1-0 loss, or even obviously I'll take the 1-0 win. But yeah, I think going into the second leg, even if we are down 2-0, like, it's not beside us that we win 2-0 and then go to penalties or extra time. So I feel good about it. And also the fact that Arteta does like to screw up in these cups, albeit he did win the FA Cup in the interim kind of period.
They do have the bottle job gene, man. They do.
I mean, we do too. Let's be honest. We do too.
You'll do, yeah.
But with Arteta, like, he has shown over the years at times he doesn't take the cups super seriously, and they've been knocked out to some teams that are, it's like, how the hell did you lose to West Ham in the Carabao Cup last year, kind of thing. So yeah,
you think you're going to go through?
2-1 on aggregate. 2-1 on aggregate.
Do you two guys think you're going to go through on the tie as well then?
I do, but I'm an eternal optimist. I've just got a feel. I had a feeling this year. I mean, it's refundable, but I booked the hotel after we beat Chelsea. So that so my hotel's already booked. So God, I'll be going if obviously we get to the final. But I felt like
he's ready to
go.
go.
Yeah. I felt like we were on a run. Let's say of all the teams in the competition, I think we've looked like we've wanted it more. And I think that's such a huge thing to want it more than the other teams that are in it.
See, I'm the opposite. As soon as Liverpool beat us 6-3, I cancelled everything. I cancelled the season, so I'm the opposite. The season's done for me. Stu, are you confident as well? Then do you think you're going to beat Arsenal? Yeah. You're a bit unsure.
My only
can't write off them. They're a good team, Arsenal.
Yeah, look, they're great, and that's why. And we play poorly. If you ask me again next week, I'll have a better answer. To Steve's point, it very much depends on the result. If it's still close and good as James's, I'll be confident. I will be confident we'll be able to go there with the crowd up. If it's a big margin and not in our favor, then maybe not. If I have to pick it now, I think just because it's another distraction for them, it doesn't mean as much. I don't think they'll play a first team. It's different if it's a final, but even last year, Liverpool played a poor team in their final as well against Chelsea. So the bigger teams, I don't think they play their strongest sides in the League Cup. They can have that luxury of not really caring about it too much. Arsenal have a Champions League campaign to worry about. They might sign players they haven't yet. Not at the time of this video anyway. They've got a Premier League, very much a Premier League title to fight for. They win tomorrow and they're within 3 points. Yes, Liverpool can make it back to 6, but look, it's still tight. A 6-point deficit isn't very much in the Premier League. Newcastle know all about throwing away large deficits when you're top of the league. So it's something that I think it will be way down the list of priorities. And although I don't think they like us very much, I don't think Arsenal and Newcastle have a wee bit of a mini rivalry forming since Arteta came along. They don't seem to like each other at all, which I don't really give a shit about. But there you
Arsenal.
go. Yeah, whatever. I don't really care. They I think that they won't be as up for it. I think we will. So as long as we play a decent side, I think we will. We'll play our full strength side as much as we can. We'll go at them. I think if Botman doesn't play tomorrow, I think he plays midweek. I think he will start him regardless. I think he's that caliber of player. They're still a very good outfit, as they've shown. They've been in a very good run of form. If I have to call it now, I'd say we will, but it will be very, very tight in terms of going maybe a penalties job or something. I don't know, but I think it will be very tight and we will get there. The problem is, I still don't think we'll win it. Liverpool just have a curse over us. They just seem to beat us. They always are able to beat us, and that's the problem. That's why I desperately hope you win, and it's sort of a double-edged compliment. Is that I hope you win because I think we've a better chance of beating you than Liverpool. Unfortunately, so
we're not beating Liverpool. I'm sorry to let you down.
I know. The only good thing is, if we do get to the final, John has said I can share a hotel room, so that's all good.
Yeah. There you go. A Wembley bromance.
It's all good.
First in here on Tottenham. Listen, guys, I'm going to say thank you to these chaps, these brilliant Geordies, for joining us. Steve, John, Stu. Make sure you follow True Faith. This is the YouTube channel. They've also got a podcast. You might want to check that out as well. I'll be on the podcast straight after this show, and at some point they'll put it out, maybe today, tomorrow. But check that out. And also make sure you follow Strasbourg Steve, who does live watch-alongs for 600 games a week across Europe. No one does it the way Steve does, that's for sure. Big up to these guys. Chaps, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Stal.
No problem. Pleasure.
Sorry about whatever happens tomorrow in advance. It's just a business trip.
I've checked out. Don't worry. I'm done with the season.
Cool. All right.
Guys, smash a like, hit notification bell, follow the channel, follow these guys' channels. If you came in late, rewind it back where we talk about the game between Spurs and Newcastle tomorrow and get an insight from Newcastle fans of what they think of Spurs, not just what we think as Spurs fans. So check that out. Otherwise, guys, thanks for being there and may the best team win tomorrow.
Away the fucking lads. Let's go.
Come on, the Spurs.
The first game we look for, Robbie. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.